welcome back to Bake Banter with Neha. In today's episode, we have someone who is a textile designer, a graphic designer, a blogger, a trained dancer, and whose cakes make us feel so warm and surreal that just takes our breath away. So presenting Miss Mridula Ganeshan. Hi Mridula.
Hi Neha.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm super fine. And so I have to do a little experiment.
Okay.
So please give me your palms.
Okay.
Yeah. So have you watched the movie PK?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you know what I'm doing. I'm trying to incorporate all her artistic skills into me, and I don't feel anything, so I think but it was worth giving a shot. And whenever you find Mridula, do give it a try, hoping that it would work for you. So please have a seat.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So Mridula, you have been connected to art in one form or another, be it lettering, be it dancing, or be it cakes. So how did art make way into your life? Did arts pursue you, or did you pursue arts?
I think I have been someone who was creative from a younger age. So I would usually appear for painting competitions, or I always show a lot of interest in art. So I joined art classes. And eventually I also started dancing. So I was more into co-curriculars than the actual academics by itself, and I was also into sports. Okay. So I felt that school was more about co-curriculars and competitions and sports days more than academics by itself. So when time came for me to figure out what I have to do next, which is college, that was when I had a few options in mind. I was trying to think about architecture and design, but I kind of felt that textile design or fashion design was something I was drawn towards. Okay. And I went ahead, I appeared for the examination, and I got into NIFT. So once I got into the college is when I realized, okay, I think I've taken the right decision, because I was enjoying it to the max. So I started exploring different avenues. It's not just design, because there are so many nuances that you can get into. Even in textiles, you could be someone who works with the weavers directly, or you could be someone who designs the garment or the garment construction, or you could be someone who works in research and development in terms of color, in terms of predicting the trends, or you could be a graphic designer. Yeah. Or you could be working in an export house, so on and so forth. So I was exploring all of that avenues, and that's when baking also happened. So I used to bake during the weekends, because as by itself design college is very extensive, because it's a process based. We don't have textbooks at all. Right. No textbooks, everything is process based. They just give you a brief and you got to work on it. Okay. So in that process, I wanted for me, creative outlet was painting and everything. So that is essentially what I was doing every day as a part of assignment. So I wanted something that's away from just creating something on paper yeah, exactly. It was a stress buster, and that's how baking happened. So I used to bake every weekend for friends and family, so on and so forth.
So you have been doing some projects with government, that is because of your graduation, Bachelor of Design, and then you were simultaneously doing some lettering workshops and everything, and baking. So you were giving equal time to all the three aspects. So when was the time you realized that you have got to be a full-time baker, and these things would just be a part and parcel of your life?
Okay, so when I graduated from college, that is when I started Hue and Frost. Okay. As a standalone page on Instagram and Facebook. That's kind of like officially putting it out there that you're doing it. Until then, it was always on my personal handle. It would just be word of mouth. So yeah, for 1.5 years, I was having a full-time job. I was working as a graphic and product designer. Meanwhile, I was taking calligraphy classes. Okay. And that was the point where I used to come back home from work by 7 or 8. I'd start baking at 10, and I'd be baking and finishing the work until morning, like 5 or 6.
So that's when you started the official page and you were getting orders. That is the time you were working on the orders.
No. Initially, it was not that much. Initially it was just, I wouldn't take more. I would probably take only 1 or 2 orders for the weekend. But they started coming in, and people are getting disappointed that I'm not able to do it for them. So I started pushing it into my schedule and making time for the orders. In the meanwhile, I was not getting enough sleep. I wasn't eating well. So all of that fell into place. That's when I decided, okay, there is demand and this is something I enjoy doing. This is something where I can take my decisions and I have creative freedom to do, and this is something I wanted to explore at the same time. And I decided to quit my job, and my boss was very supportive. He said, I'm all for entrepreneurs, I'm all for you to go and do everything on your own, so if you need any help you can ask.
It's a great thing coming from boss as well.
I had the best boss. So very supportive. So I put my papers down, and that's when my father passed away. So it was hard because I thought he was going to be around me when I was going to start off alone, and that was quite a big loss for me at that time. So I had to make peace with it. So it took a while. So I slowed down my work for a bit, and slowly that's when I got another project from the government, and I was working on that. So when I had my full-time job, I was working on another government project and taking calligraphy classes and baking at the same time. So during that period, obviously my main focus was my job, because you had to make time, you had to be there. So if I wanted to take an off for taking classes, or if I had to go to the field for my project, I would just let them know, listen, I have some work to do, and they were understanding. So they understood that you can be a freelance designer and work for us. So there was not much of pressure. So I think the kind of company that you're working for really matters if you want to pursue something other than your main job, like side hustle is what we call. So that was helpful.
So it's been 4 years for you and Frost now?
Yes.
And you have rented a place recently.
Yes.
So that is like being self-employed, promoting yourself to another level. So has it brought a pressure along? What are the pros and cons to it that you have?
The pressure definitely is. I felt it only after I got the space. And when I got it, just after like couple of weeks, we went into a lockdown, and I was like, okay, probably this is not the right time, because we're not going to be working on orders. We don't know if we're going to have supply of raw materials. We don't know if the orders are going to come in. Will I be able to pay rent? Of course, yes, we can afford that. We can, use up our savings. But I thought maybe I should have postponed that a little bit. But I think it worked out for the best, because it's in the same community as I live in. So right now, with the lockdown, I could go and work whenever I can, and there was not much of restriction. So in a way, it turned out okay. So I'm just glad that we're all here and we're all doing safe.
Yeah, that's true.
So Mridula, there was one cake that has played a very crucial role in your life, and while working on the cake, your dad was put on life support and you could not cancel the cake. So can you please tell us why you chose not to cancel the cake?
My father was sick for a while, but the fact that he went into life support was something that we didn't expect. It was unexpected. I had a few orders, but fortunately it was just this one order, because as I said, I also had a full-time job and I was working on another government project, so I didn't overbook myself. So I gave myself enough time, so probably 3 orders a week. That was the maximum I would do.
Okay.
So one day for baking, another day for decorating, and the next day would be for delivery. So that's pretty. Yeah, so that's the amount of time I had, and I always wanted to give the best quality. There's no, I wanted to ensure that, or it's always quality over quantity for me. So I had orders for the next following week, and I called up all my clients saying, hey, listen, my dad's on life support. I'm not sure if I can get it done. I don't know what is going to happen, regardless whether he's going to come back or if we're not sure. Either way, I don't have the mental space to work on orders, so I'm cancelling. And I got a couple of contacts, so I contact Karthika and a few other bakers, and I told them, listen, hey, this is my situation. If you can take up this order of my client, it'll be wonderful. So I gave their contacts. They said they'll take care, all of that. But this one order was something that I was talking to the client for over 2 months. So I usually work on cake sketches, so it's something that I really believe in. Unless and until the client wants something to be replicated that they have a picture of, I try to create something or give a unique touch to the cake.
So be it any cake, the first thing you do is sketch the cake and give it to the client?
Not all. See, if they want me to recreate a cake that I've already done, there's no need for it. If they have an image and if they want me to recreate it, I'll do it. But if they even the slightest bit, if they show an interest that they're looking for something new, I jump in and I suggest that, let's talk and discuss and come up with something new. So this is how this cake happened. So we were discussing over a period of 2 months, and we had only a couple of days, and I wasn't sure if I had the capacity to explain this to another baker, or will another baker be available in a couple of days, especially home bakers. We wouldn't take orders in the last minute.
Especially a wedding cake.
Especially wedding cake. So I decided I'll do it. My family is at the hospital taking care of him. What's the big deal? So I was working on the cake and I got it done. There was no news from my folks, as in they didn't say anything. They weren't pressurizing me to come soon. All they said was, in fact, I told them I will go hand deliver because it's a 3 kilo cake and I wasn't sure if I can give it through any other delivery service. It's usually cab delivery. I might as well give it and come back. So that was when my brother's friends stepped in and they said, listen, we'll take care of the delivery, just give us the address, we'll drop you at the hospital. So I went in.
So all this while you had no idea?
I had no idea. So I went in, I'm going up, and all of my folks are just like super silent. I'm like, okay, hey, I just gave the cake. What's up? I'm just sitting, and my brother just comes and hugs me and he starts crying, and I was like, oh my God, what happened? And that's when I realized that he was gone 2 hours ago. And they didn't let me know because they thought that I would probably break down and not finish my order.
I'm so sorry you had to go. She's been such strong girl. She's been inspiration to so many young bakers. Her design speaks it all. I'm so sorry that this has happened, but I'm so sure that uncle must be very happy from up there seeing you work so hard and passionately towards your art.
So being an artist that you are, you know how hurtful it is when a person blatantly copies your design in the name of inspiration and doesn't even bother to credit the creator. So what is your take on that? Has it ever happened with you?
Plenty of times. Recently, I think some of the bakers, understand. I think it's probably because a lot of us talk about crediting, and they are in the process of giving credits, but initially I think it was not a norm, or for most of them. And I think that's because, see, if you're someone who's used to creating cakes off the internet, see, for someone like that, in their world of reality, it's okay because the images are available on the internet. Yes. It's free, so they probably think it's free to it's okay to be recreated, but it doesn't work that way, honestly speaking. So if we're looking at IPR, intellectual property rights is what we're talking about. So if you're going to get your work copyrighted, nobody can actually recreate your work unless until you give them the permission to, or they have to pay a sum. So for example, we cannot be creating Disney characters on our cakes. True. Even if you want to create, you can't upload it online because you should have gotten the permission from the person who holds the copyright, the rights, and only if they approve of, you can do it. So even if you want to recreate this for someone's birthday or someone's wedding, you can create it for, sake of, getting paid, or you simply for,
but
for
it's not legal.
It's not legal. So you cannot upload it online and claim that it's your work.
Right.
If you want to, you should have asked, but you are just putting yourself in a position where you could get sued.
True.
You could.
There's always a risk.
Yeah. So it is possible to get your works copyrighted even in India, but it's a very extensive process, and it can be also a little bit expensive for new creators or small-time creators. So in a situation like this, we have to work as a community with other bakers. We need to come to an understanding where, hey, this is your work, I'm giving you credit, or you have to first approach them saying, hey, so one of my clients wanted this cake and I'm recreating it. I'm letting you know. You can just let them know. You don't even have to ask them for permission. Or you could just tell them, hey, I like this work of yours. I want to recreate it and I want to post it. Get their permission first. Okay, if you don't have the time, let's say you don't have the bandwidth to ask someone for permission, it's, the date is close or you don't have enough time. In that sense, you need to give a credit when you're uploading your work. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
A lot of people fail to do that. It's because for them it's okay. There's someone who's used to creating work from the internet. It's as simple as that for them. But when you think about it from a creator's perspective, we put in a lot of effort. So my creative process is like, I usually work with the client. So I usually tell them, if you have a mood board for your wedding, if you have a particular set of outfits that you're using, if you have a color palette that you're following, if you have a particular theme, let's work on that. Let's bring elements from that. And I would usually ask them for a few images that they're interested in. So I get an understanding of their style, if they want to go minimal, or if they want to go very rustic, or if they want very clean. So you get that understanding by looking at the images that they're sending. So that is to understand what is their preference. Yeah. So once you get that, based on the, the inspiration images, the mood boards, their outfits, you can put something together. So that is where I think I'm good at. I think that I got it from my education, and I want to put it to maximum use, because that's one of the ways you can create unique work. Simply looking at another cake and recreating, or getting inspiration from another cake, there's only probably 10-15% of uniqueness that you can bring in, because all that you can do is change color, add different elements, remove some elements, or add more elements to it. Probably a few extra work, retouch, that is what you can do. But when your inspiration is something that's not remotely cake at all, your work is going to be unique and different, and in the process you will find that your style will show through. When you're working on 10 different new cakes, when you are starting from the scratch, you will figure out that, hey, this is my style, this is what I'm good at. And in the process, you can establish your niche. So that is what all of us, all the bakers, need to really focus on, is what I think.
So we all know that your feed has less of fondant cakes and more of artistic cakes, be it hand painted cake, be it rustic or clean or textured. So when did you realize that, okay, fondant is not something that is going with my style? What was the process? Did you work on more fondant cakes and then you realized?
So initially, I have worked on a good amount of fondant cakes. So as I said, initial stages you have to explore as many styles as possible that you come across and see, just so you know what you're comfortable with. There are some mediums that come naturally to you. Some mediums you have to put in a lot of effort and it may still not work at all. So I was okay with fondant. I wouldn't say I was great. I was okay with fondant. But over a period of time, I started saying that clients wanted non-fondant cakes. Okay. They wanted a fondant finish cake, but they don't want fondant on it because they essentially felt that they have to peel it off and eat it. So that's when I started working on white chocolate ganache.
Okay.
So because I thought it gives better finish like fondant, and it had better stability. So the filling would be anything. It could be buttercream or whatever, custard or curd or whatever they want, because the white chocolate ganache or chocolate ganache had the stability to hold the cake well, regardless of how soft the filling is. And slowly in the process, I realized that I really like creating texture on the cake. It was just simply playing on one of the cakes that one of my clients said, listen, you can do whatever you want.
Those types of clients are the best.
Very, very, very sweet. Yeah. They'll actually, it's one of the reasons why you get to explore and get paid at the same time. So that's when I kind of understood that palette knife detailing is something that I really liked, and I'm also a big follower, or I really love the works of Piet Mondrian and Monet and Picasso, and their work kind of started influencing because I started reading about them. I mean, I have done a few projects on them, but I think during this time it kind of rekindled my love for them, and it kind of started overflowing into my work, and I think it turned out for the best.
Okay.
Yeah.
Her cakes are so surreal. I mean, I just look at them and I'll be just looking at them because I can't take my eyes off them. I mean, they are so... If I had to get a wedding cake for me, I'm definitely taking it from you.
I'm so honored.
I am more than... And I'm not even letting anybody else eat it.
So, as a designer, as a cake designer, what is the list of do's and don'ts that you'd like to convey to the bakers, new bakers, or the bakers who are already there but who aren't able to design the cake from scratch?
Okay, in terms of design, I would suggest that try out different techniques that is available. Probably something that you are interested, or something that just sparks in you and you want to give it a try. Try it out a lot. You don't wait for a client's order. If you are free, if you are someone who's starting out, you probably don't have so many orders. So when there is time, work on research and development, which is work on new recipes or work on new techniques. See how it looks on a cake. Don't work on a dummy. No. It's not going to help you in any way, because on a cake you're gonna have a lot of problems like condensation, melting, crumbling, so on and so forth. So you kind of want to work on a real cake as much as possible. So what I would suggest is probably, if you're on Pinterest, you can create a board. That's the easiest way. What I would do is usually Google search, collect images, put it on a paper, and see what is what I'm usually drawn to. But let's not go there. It's very intensive. If you're on Pinterest, probably create a board. You can keep it as a secret board if you want. If you don't want people to see it, share or probably save, pin all the pins that really interests you, and give it like a week's time. Go back and see, and you will figure out that you're interested in a particular technique or a few techniques as a group, and you can understand, okay, this is what you're interested in. So first you need to figure out what interests you or what draws you, what is your drive, or what really makes you want to decorate the cake. So sit and explore that. So if a piping tip can be used in one way, probably that's what you've seen on the internet, but it can be used in a million other ways, and that you will get it only if you work on it for at least a month's time. You need to use one medium for the maximum amount of time to actually realize the ability of it and how crazily you can use it. So you don't have to use a palette knife to create palette knife strokes. You can use even the skewers to create lines. So you don't need to have the actual tools, but you can make use of whatever you have with you. You won't know where you'll end up with. You will create some brilliant things with the most basic tools that you have. So for me, in a short sentence, I would say that you don't need to have the legit tools. You can use whatever tools that you have and explore as much as possible. And if you're exploring a particular medium, stick to it for a few days and see how well you can explore with it and experiment with it.
And you'll be on the path to becoming a Mridula Ganeshan.
Oh no. They will be in the path of creating or reinventing or figuring out themselves.
Well, that's why Mridula Ganeshan is Mridula Ganeshan, guys. It was so grateful and honored to have you here. We had a lovely conversation with you, and meaningful, to be precise. So now we'll move on to the fun part of the show, and that is the rapid fire round. Welcome to the rapid fire round, guys, and this round is going to be super fun. There's just two rules to this round, and that is you have to be super rapid and the answers have to be honest. So let's get started. The first question is, Your classic birthday cake should look like?
Should have impasto technique and buttercream. Flavor can be anything.
A cake trend you'd like to start?
I think it's already in trend, the palette knife and impasto technique.
A tool or equipment you cannot work without?
Palette knife.
Would you rather just bake cakes forever or just frost cakes forever?
Frost cakes.
Be the funniest person in the room or the most intelligent person in the room?
Funniest.
Speak your mind always or never speak again?
Speak your mind.
If you could be any animal, what would it be and why?
I think I'd be a lion. For its majestic looks, probably. I've been told that I am one.
You indeed are. One thing that annoys you the most?
I think the whole crediting thing that we discussed, yes.
You and frost to you is?
Everything.
What is the first thing you'd do if you were to go invisible for an hour?
I think I would be scared if people can't see me. I would panic on the first place. Before I could think of how I can make use of the ability, I would panic that people are not able to see me.
One thing you're extremely bad at?
In terms of baking?
Anything.
I wouldn't say I'm bad at, but I would choose. I'm usually quite. I take a lot of time in responding to messages and calls.
Okay. 3 words that perfectly describe you.
So I think creative, artistics, and perseverance.
What would you not eat even if you were stranded on an island alone and haven't eaten anything for 100 days?
I would eat anything that's given. Given the fact that you've not eaten for 100 days, you're hungry and you would eat anything.
Okay. A quote or saying that's your life principle?
Earlier it was, if you rest, you rust. But right now I think maintain a life balance. It's more important to have a sane life.
It was a great rapid fire round. Now let's go on to the game. Welcome to the game round. This game is called as the Gracious Loser. So basically the rules of the game are, you have to hold a card up on your head and the opponent has to guess the word. You can either explain it by words or action, and you get 10 seconds of time to explain each card, and the whole game continues on for 2 minutes by taking turns. So we'll begin? Yeah.
Okay. Alright. So I have to make a guess. I have to pick a card?
Yeah.
And then you will...
I'll explain you and you will have to.
I have to guess it. Okay.
So it's a dairy, you shake it and you add fruits to it. It's a cold drink.
Milkshake.
Yeah.
This wakes you up in the morning.
Alarm. Yes. Yeah, he got bit by a spider and then he became a spook.
Spider-Man.
Yeah.
The one who loves food and friends.
Joey Tribbiani. Okay, this is a fruit and it is like kiwi but with white and black.
Dragon fruit.
Yeah.
The green version of cauliflower.
Broccoli. Okay. The
Rajinikanth.
Yeah.
This is the one you wear in your ankle.
Anklet. This involves sunlight and flowers and food and
Is it related to plants?
yeah.
Photosynthesis?
Yeah.
It's the time to...
Disco. Okay, the good president of the United States of
Barack
America.
Obama.
Yeah.
Okay. The match? They won the match yesterday.
CSK. Okay, these are the cake pops but in the form of... Yeah.
Water. It's a form of water but it falls from the rocks.
Waterfall. A form of lettering in style.
Calligraphy.
Yeah.
You.
So, as the future holds, I have bad luck, and so I'm the gracious loser, and I get 1, not 2, but 3 pats on my back. Please.
Should I?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. So Mridula, it was very fun having you here and learning so much from you, and our viewers have been inspired and motivated by your words. It's an honor to have you here, and I'm glad that I was able to host you. So
Thank you for having me here. I'm so glad and honored that you picked me as one of the bakers from the town, and it means a lot. This is probably one of my first experiences in a talk show or a podcast, so I'm so glad that I'm here, and thank you, and congratulations to Coco Times.
thank you. So Mridula, we do have something for you, just a very small token of love from me and the Coco Times. So this is
Oh wow,
something.
thank you so much, I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for coming, taking time off out of your busy schedule. It was an honor to host you.
It's an honor to be a part of your show. Thank you for having me.
That's just sweet of you. Thank you so much, guys, for sticking around, and stay tuned for the next episode that would be up next Friday. And see you all soon. You know that to like, share, follow, subscribe.
Bye.